pressure one. Okay, hi guys. Welcome to the 30-minute DID live chat. Today we have 3 guests. We have Prof. Donn Koh. Hey, say hi. We have Mariel, a year 4 student. We have Claire. Hi. So, okay, while waiting for questions to come in, feel free to tap onto the questions icon at the bottom of the screen to submit the question so I can pin it and everybody can follow. So while waiting for questions to come in, maybe you'll first get Prof. Donn Koh to introduce yourself. Maybe tell us more about your background and what brought you to DID.
People online, right?
Now we have 3 people, but it can be rewatched later.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Donn, and I have been teaching here for about coming to 10 years. The interesting thing is also that I used to be a student here, right? And that's many more years before that. So what else should I say about myself? Maybe the different thing that I do amongst the team over here is generally I teach with a bit more of a focus on entrepreneurship. Right? You may have seen some of these projects that NUS has, or at least NUS DID has done in the past 5-6 years, launching things on Kickstarter, right? A lot of those projects are taught in classes by me, and that's mainly because I like to link design very much to actual industry practice, because in design you cannot really run away from the real human response, right? And when you put students and their projects to a real response by people, I think it gets not just clarifying but also rather exciting. And as a designer, it's almost like the first time you taste how your things would have some effect on others, to the point where whether they purchase it or not. I mean, that's one level of interaction that you have, but on another level, whether or not after purchasing it and using it, do they continue to use it, right? And how does it form a habit or not form a habit in their lives? And I think that is one of those things that is most exciting about design, and therefore in the way I teach classes here, I try to bring that to students, right? Another side of why I do that is also because as a teacher over here, I have just been quite privileged to be given a chance to still run my own practice, right? So I think it's both a good thing for myself, because it allows me to play with more creative and new and free type of thinking that exists in school. At the same time, it allows me to ground the things that I do in a more tried and tested way in industry, right? So I said both benefiting, meaning that that benefit is also translated, I think, to students, right? Because then they get a taste of how things may be like, and I try to bring that often in classes. Right? So beside me, I mean, Mary and Claire, and before we jump to them, I would just say that they are my thesis students currently, right? It's a joy teaching these 2 chaps. Yeah, I mean, there are many others, right? I mean, before we go on, there are let's see, what should I say? Yeah. Well, anyway, let's just go on. Right?
Thanks. Maybe you can say more about the examples later.
Yeah.
Okay, when the questions coming in. Hey, Mariel.
Hello.
Could you introduce yourself and maybe where were you? What were you doing before the DID, and what brought you here in the first place?
I'm Mariel. I'm here for Donn's thesis student.
That's your identity.
3 points in my resume.
Very succinct.
before ID, I was in Millennium Institute. It's a 3 years A-levels because I didn't do very well for O-levels. And then also I didn't want to go to poly too early because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did the A-level route for 3 years. And then what happened, how I found my ID was through like my history teacher. She gave us like a list of courses, and then she told us to do exercise to highlight our top 3, and I was just like scanning, and I saw industrial design. Then I went to Google, and then like, so I didn't know about the course until my last year in year 3 of MI. So yeah,
that's really early.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I went for the open house, and I was like, oh, okay. Then I just tried it, and I got it, and I was like, yay.
So what inspired you to want to consider ID in the first place and eventually join it?
I think like from the start I wasn't really very good with like academic route. Yeah. Then I was looking for something that because in my mind I always thought like design was like sort of like art, like in my mind was like graphic. Yeah. So I was like, I didn't want to do that, but I want to do something more like hands-on, where like I can actually like materialize something. Yeah, that wasn't like 2D. Yeah, because that I thought, oh okay, ID kind of like fulfilled that. Yeah.
Thanks, Meryl. Okay, now to Claire. To introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Claire. I came from the JC route, but I think what was a bit different was that I went to business school first, and I studied 1 year, and then after that I transferred into.
Oh, you didn't know?
Never knew that.
Yeah. Actually, it feels very distant, but I think what was very attractive was that I think I studied very hard throughout my life, and then like answering like question papers and exams, and then when I was in uni, I felt like I wanted to do something more linked to reality. Then I met the senior who was in this course, so I began to come for ID classes, like sit in, and then I felt like it
You know that.
resonated because it was very empowering to see how you can be in an education where you think about how to think on your own, and then make things that can to think about how to impact like the society positively. I think.
And making it into reality also.
Actually, I can't remember what I was thinking, but
Yeah, what was the class that you sat in for?
I went for Yen's medical.
Oh, Dr. Yen's medical
Yeah.
design studio,
and
is it?
Gigi's foreign worker.
Ah.
Yeah, I went for Corp.
You were allowed to crash.
Can email.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Cool. Thanks, Claire. Wait, so after that class, then you just quit the business course and just join ID?
Yeah, after 1 year.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
But technically, actually, we were considering actually doing some kind of opening up the classes for even like the candidates now to just peek in, sit in. That was kind of somewhat discussed until the virus came. So there was So I mean, even our own classes are kind of like made digital now. So, but yeah. I mean, this is always a good thing that you get to see classes and know for sure what is going on right in school.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, thanks for the intros. Okay, while waiting for questions to come, maybe I'll ask some of my own questions. Maybe a bit more of intros. Like, so what are you currently doing? Like, you're doing your thesis now, right? Yeah, maybe you could tell us more about the project that you're working on? If you don't mind.
With the headline, right?
Who want to start first?
Oh, it's not she first. Okay.
Okay, Meryl.
Okay, I can go first. Okay. Crazy.
I am doing okay. So what Donn encouraged us to do was to give a headline for our thesis projects and like to imagine like if our project were to be written by someone, then what was the one-liner gonna be. So mine is like making modifications on playground furniture to bring elderly and children closer together. So like the idea was, it started with the observation of how despite like the government having like three generational playgrounds under like in estates where they try to co-locate like exercise corners and playgrounds together. And then what I was observing is that why is it that it's in the same space yet these two groups of people do not intersect, like, and how like certain elderly still continue to just chill under the void deck, and then children are just like in their own world. So I was wondering if there could be a way to like bring them together. And then so like the explorations led to like things, if we could hack existing furniture in playgrounds, so say like slides or like seesaws, and if we hybrid them, so if we cross like a seesaw and a bench together, or if we stretch a slide, it becomes a bench. So yeah.
Actually, what do you mean by hacking the existing furniture? And why do you choose this approach?
Okay, I tried some other approaches. Like, the first one was like, what if the exercise corner could like alter the way the children experience their playground, but it felt very forced and too like mechanical. Then this meant that the exercise equipment and the playground has to be rather close to each other, and then it felt like I was just putting two things that they want to be together, and then so it led to like if I just like Photoshop, like there's this walk tool, so if I walk like the furnitures, what would it look like? I was thinking, like or if you like hybrid, just led to that.
Thanks, Meryl. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about maybe what goes on in the fourth year, these would be like two really good people to ask because they're going through it now. Okay, maybe thanks, Meryl. So maybe Claire, could you share more about what you're doing now?
Okay, I think like the fourth year is a really cool year lah.
Yeah.
Before like talking about my project, because it's like you get one full year of space to explore what you want to do under the guidance of like different tutors. So I think for me it was like I was determined to use the 1 year to test out like my personal belief about translating the values of psychotherapy to something linked to design. I wanted to see how much of it we can extract and make it more accessible. So I think with that intention, my thesis was like focusing specifically on this thing called sensory therapy, where people use in the counseling room to arrange
Sensory therapy, is it?
sensory therapy.
Oh, sensory therapy.
So people pick like little figurines and then they just intuitively arrange, like they are playing a dollhouse or playhouse kind of thing. Then through that unconscious action, they can discover more about what they think inside. So I wanted to extract that and see where it can go. Then it ended up being like a food experience where people go to cafes and then they can build tarts in a way that is a bit more meaningful than for decorative purposes. And then using it as an opportunity to talk to people that they go to the cafes with.
Thanks, Claire. Okay. Still waiting for questions to come in. But feel free, for those who just joined, there are 5 people now, like tap onto the questions icon on the bottom of the page if you have any questions, and I can pin them. And these lovely people can answer it for you. Maybe you have a question for Donn. Maybe, there's a real question about real estate. Hi, can I ask for the real estate course? When do you usually specialize and what are the options? Sorry, Eileen, because this is a DID, Division of Industrial Design course. So I highly suggest that you refer your question to the real estate Instagram. Maybe you can PM somebody there and they can answer it for you. So sorry. Okay, maybe a question for Donn. Maybe could you describe how has your experience been like teaching students here in DID? Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. What makes it special?
I think what's great about it is, if, even for me, if we would say that like putting myself in the shoes of a student, this would be a dream course to be in, right? Just because you know, the topic of design and also just the culture here makes learning like that. You know, it's things are very open, very candid. There's a blend between whether, you know, your discussions with your teachers are like discussions with teachers, or like a friend, right, or like a colleague, right, or like a boss sometimes, you know, and that mimics very much the kind of dynamics that you go through in real life, in practice, which is why also I think when the students work here and then later they transit to work, there's almost not much of a difference between what they do and how they do it, right, and the kind of relationship types that are necessary for this kind of innovation work to happen. So I guess for me, I just like this kind of work, and therefore DID as a place embodying this type of dynamic that supports this kind of work is ideal for me personally, right? And I mean, I'd rather go to a course whereby, you know, you get to be kind of more engaged with people, right? Not just on the like, hey, we take one lecture together and then that's it, right? But rather on an extended basis where you do not just one team project together, but maybe a possibility of doing a few more throughout the years, and you see each other grow and develop, and then you bounce off each other and sharpen each other. Right? And that happens not just with students, but it happens also with teachers, right? As a topic type, or rather like as a discipline area, design is one whereby everyone is constantly reinventing themselves. So are the teachers, and therefore, I think I would say that at DID, people come alive. You know? You don't really just face a certain kind of but of course there is a place, you know, for academic disciplines or career areas that focus a lot more on like a certain rigorous repetition, right? Something that is much more reliable. But over here, maybe it gets a lot better for people who are always interested in the new and like to play around with things. So those people who come here with such an inclination, they really come alive, right? And so that's what I like about it. You don't see people studying here because they have to study, right? You see people, putting their heart in over there. So it's always great to be in a place like that, right?
Thanks, Donn. Okay, we have one question from Exhausted Lunatic. I think that's the kind of person that will come here.
Yeah.
Hi, Prof. Any advice to prepare for the admissions test beyond the videos and the entry prep kit? Thank you.
Any advice to prepare admissions test beyond the videos and entry prep kit?
Yes.
Yes. Prepare prior to it or prepare for it? Right?
Prepare for the admissions test. Yeah. Beyond just like watching the videos and the entry prep kit.
Well, I think you can't really do too much to prepare because the way we design the session digs out who and what you really are. So you can't change that in a few weeks. But let's just say maybe the thing is not to have a misconception about this kind of test, right? We're not. Don't try to prepare for it as if you're kind of coming here to do a show, right? But rather, because it is very obvious, right? But rather, think a bit more about who you are in this period of time, right? And reflect a little bit more beyond just trying to find what might be the answers that we're looking for. For like, if we're asking you how would you improve something, avoid gravitating to what you think may be the best standard types of things that people would say that will get them like a tick. There isn't really that, because we're looking for people who maybe on a constant basis, they think about the objects that they have, they think about the services that they go through, they think about the places that they are, and they question, like, do things have to be this way, right? And is this really the best way to do things for people, right? Maybe in the first place, whether even an object that you are asked to improve, is that object even necessary in our lives, right? I think we are looking for people who constantly are questioning, right? And so if you have been questioning these things and you are thinking that you are a little bit weird, right? Don't try to suppress that in preparation for the interview, but rather try to surface these things that you have been thinking about. We're looking for your underlying thoughts, right? Hold on, we have
Sorry, you're doing a call. So sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, we have a bit of a noise behind. So maybe think through a bit more how you feel about each thing, and how you would improve things for people beyond the standard answers. I think that would be a good one to get yourself into in a mood, right? So that when you come and then we talk to you about it, you can tell us honest things, for example, if we show you like a mug and you think that like it's just really ugly, right? Honestly, then we talk to you about it. Don't worry that like maybe one of us designed a mug or something like that. And you don't have to say, just tell us that I think it's really ugly. Or it's not really usable. And then also on the converse, if you have say a situation where we test you with an object, and in your mind you see that like it's actually really good enough, right? When we ask you for an improvement, don't squeeze an improvement out, right? Just because you have to give an answer. Sometimes it's actually really okay to say that I think it's really good enough for people, and that maybe it's not worth putting more resources that are scarce, right, to come and modify something just for a certain frivolous improvement. Right? I think we're looking for this kind of honest conversations. So prepare yourself to be open and honest. Right? That's what I would say.
Thanks, Donn. Actually, we have more questions coming in, but for those who just joined in, I think in general, ID is looking for a variety of people with different passions and people with a point of view, and also open-minded. So when you're coming for an admissions interview, just come, be yourself and bring things that you can show that represents your own passions. Yeah. Okay. Hope this answers your question. Exhausted lunatic.
Don't be too exhausted.
Yeah, don't be too... Manage your time. Don't be too exhausted. Okay, I have this question from Chief of Defense. Sure who. My skill set suits more towards producer or management roles. Is the ID the right choice?
Maybe because in design especially, I don't know if Mariel and Claire have had so much a chance to experience that, because this complexity happens more in work, right? Your projects can get relatively complex, like how are the projects that we encounter in my own practice, right? Meaning that I mentioned earlier that I still run a design agency on the side, and we are a team of about 25 people, right? Sometimes the projects that we do involve like 8 to 10 to 12 people, and many times it involves very complex subject matter. For example, like if you were to be tasked to, and it's a real project, right? Tasked to reinvent how a big corporation, right, say like a bank, right, were to rethink their whole culture and building that is centered around learning and development of this stuff, then this as a topic is so big and complex with regards to needing to understand the existing processes, needing to have people in the team to innovate on it with different types of discipline. You need people who understand psychology, people who understand training and teaching, people who understand space and design, people who understand tech and interactions that can enable these things to happen. And then of course there's that general user experience study, design researchers. So projects can get really a big mess. And some of the very best design lead members, right, those who lead the project, right, they are also very good project managers, right, who can pull these things together, pull this complexity together, make sure everyone, the dots are connected, every point is, yeah. So anyway, just in short, yes, we are not just in school where you have smaller teams, smaller projects, and you usually need some guy who is like the one who drives everything to happen and make sure everything lands at the right place. If you are like that, I think you will find that DID is quite exciting because you make it, you will feel that like you are really making it happen, right? That thing is amplified a lot more when you go to actual work because it's no longer just an academic exercise, even though the academic exercises here are quite real, but whatever you do ends up somewhere that affects somebody's lives, and you are almost the integrator pulling all of these things together at the same time. Well, that's in short the explanation from a project management standpoint, but I will add a little bit more about industrial designers as by nature of that specialization, whether or not you are acting as a project manager, you are very much an integrator also, because at the end of the day, who is in a project, they advocate for the human or the user, is it, well, there will be engineers who are very human centric, right? But in my understanding, that's not fundamentally their responsibility in terms of optimizing for the human experience. They're optimizing for reliability and for efficiencies, for cost, for durability, for performance, which are very important things to do, right? But that's that focus. Then you have other types of focus like marketing, right, where the key KPI is to make sure that products get to the right people and right people want to buy it, and people are aware of it, right? And then of course there's that whole brand side of things to build that presence, right? See, each of these fields, right, they have a certain optimum that they need to strive for, which will contribute to the total. But who is the one that is pulling it all together so that it lands for human benefit, right? I don't see any role, like there's no kind of human engineer, human sciences engineering thing. Actually, that role is the role of the designer, right? And you are kind of almost at the last gate, or even the first starting point actually, to pull all this together to land. So you have to balance between different disciplines, needs, requirements. Sometimes you may have to say that like between this technical performance versus this level of convenience for people, they are at odds with each other. Then who draws the line as to what is the right balance between those two things, right? The designer does it. So therefore, fundamentally, the role of a designer is quite an integrator in itself, right? Beyond just managing projects, you are actually managing disciplines. Okay?
Thanks, Donn. Maybe before I move on to actually another more administrative question. Huh?
Questions for them.
Okay, maybe more on this one, since we're talking about like team management roles, right? We have 2 students that currently year 4s. Maybe you could share more about like what's the nature of like projects in ID, and like what have you learned about like team management, for example?
I feel like there are a lot of types or platforms. I think for the classes that I have taken, maybe
A louder.
Okay. I think in terms of management, we have like what Donn mentioned, like client projects, where maybe when at the start of the project we have this dream about this direction we want to go, but then when you present it to the client, there will be realistic concerns that the client will pose, or sometimes there are blind spots that we don't see yet because we are naive kids. So yeah, but I mean apart from that, like I feel like there's always and then the management part, I guess, is like finding the place to be while satisfying the client, but also value adding on top of it. Yeah. Then group work.
I don't know. I think like on a more micro level of like within groups, like the biggest group I had from year 2 year 3 was just 3 people. Like I think that's the max. Then what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, okay. So I learned this from Brian Stone, which will be live later also.
And 5 here.
Come and watch. So in his lesson he told us how like designers like can like I guess it's more like personality type, I'm not really sure, but he said there's a generator and then there's a I forgot the opposite of a generator, the one where like, so like there's people who go crazy with ideas, there's one who something like that, like who's it together, so I think in the more like micro within groups from year 2, year 3, year 4, there'll be like we kind of set roles to ourselves, so like one person will be the generator and the other person will put together, and maybe there'll be a guy who's good at presenting or like better at communicating thoughts, and then we will play with our strengths, and then there's not so much of a leader per se, like there's no like dictator, but like we all work with our strengths and it's like dance together, so like I guess project management in that sense.
Hey, thanks for sharing, guys. Oh yeah, anyway, okay, there are other like cool questions, I'll get to it. But maybe guys, if you want to ask like students, it'll be a good question to ask like, about team management, because year 2 to year 4 like, they work together, and that's how they learned from their experience and how to manage a team better. So maybe like out of this session, because it's a bit extended already, like 30 minutes already, you could talk to Ken, maybe 45 minutes. Yeah, maybe you could explain more about the nature of how the projects are like organized, like year 2 to year 4, like more about your experiences in vertical platforms. Yeah. Or like what happens when you go to year 2?
Oh, I can share. I remember I had a very traumatic experience in year 2.
Yes.
I think because I think at that moment I was like fixated on a certain way of thinking. Then there were pressures from the professor, from the client, and also from the senior. So it was my first time feeling the tension between different expectations, and then feeling very useless, like you don't know what to do. But I feel like the nice part is like, because our vertical platforms is like you have a mixture of people from year 4 and year 3, and you can learn from them and also talk to them in a way that is scary but like very frequent, so they can't run away from you. Like
you'll be forced to face them.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
Yeah. I think the nice thing is like I was talking to my other friends, like we always think like, oh, this group work we learn how to handle group work better, but then every single platform with different people, you always feel like, oh my god, this is so difficult, like working with people, because there's always different kinds of people, and then like you have to work in terms of social relationship management, but also creatively, like how do you synthesize a creative idea without hurting each other's feelings, while you also don't know what is the best, so it's like a lot of tensions. But I think it's nice to be given the time and space to practice that like again and again throughout the platforms.
Yeah, having to keep facing the challenge of working with many different types of people. Thanks Claire. What, Mary?
Okay, like I think the most exciting one was year 2 sem 1, where we so like it was our first time having to work with the seniors, like they'll try to group us in year 2, 3 and 4, and then at first I think it's more of a I think we all as a year 2 suffer from like a self-confidence thing, like what Claire said, we always want to try to be like, to show the seniors that we can do it, but I think it's okay to know they also know that we can't do it, but like they also know that we can. So like and that's when I realized like, okay, not to be afraid to be like, I don't know how to do it. And then I think that's a point where I really learned how to milk my milk is not a very good word, but like
Milk
my seniors.
Milk the senior.
Yes.
Like kind
Get
of,
the most out of them.
yeah. Especially like the year 4s.
Better quality milk.
Yeah. HL, no AG. and then so like I think also that's when I realized how important connections is well in any industry. But like even within school, so like even up to now, like seniors do help me when I can like just ask questions about thesis, and then they will like reply, and they'll be very happy to like help. And I think that's also what I realized entering year 2 was that in general everybody's like will help us, so like the fears are unnecessary, but it was really fun because like everyone just keep complaining about their struggles to each other in a group. And it was a mutual like empowering therapy session. But yeah, I think platforms are really fun.
Thanks, Mariel. Thanks for sharing. Okay, maybe jumping straight to the questions that are coming in. Ooh. Okay, wait. Okay. What's the best and worst things about ID? Is this for current students or prof? What's the best and worst things about ID? Yeah,
I
from
find
your
it a bit
perspective.
hard I'm trying to dig out what is the worst.
Okay,
Because
maybe coming
I
from
like
the
it so much.
perspective of someone who's a DID alumnus and also a professor now for 10 years. You don't think about it?
I would just say that it really depends on your makeup, right? Because so in short, I would say one of the best things about ID is really a bit like a school of life, right? Because you are studying people and how things affect people. You understand yourself better. You understand how life somewhat works. You understand, and then you gain some tools to actually make change. So that's why I say people come alive here, because they start to see the world a bit differently than just a formula, right, or statistic, and you see the complexity of life. But then yet, you get to have some means to influence that, right? So I think to me that's the best part. If you're asking about the best part about the school here, then I would say is this kind of dynamics that you're seeing, right? Which is that kind of very open collaboration, that kind of very integrated relationships throughout the years, not just like, hey, we're in the same project group, or we're in the same class, or we're in the same year. Now, we are in the same school, right? That's what's happening here. And it's year 4 to year 1 to the professors that are sitting together all the time, right? Doing projects together all the time. That's what's quite nice. It's like a mini society that's going on here. So now the worst parts may relate more to your personal shape, right? By shape, I don't mean your size. I mean, because design as a practice really challenges many aspects of your skill sets, right? And you'll find that you can't do design well if you are just, like Mariel mentioned, a generator, constantly dreaming. You can't do design well if you're just a highly rigorous implementer or an analytical, near like a tweaking of one same thing for a long time, right? You can't also do design well if you have a lot of ideas but have no means to inspire others about them, which means you have to talk. You can't be a closet genius, right? So it takes a lot out of you, and you may find that out of like 5 or 6 different aspects, 2 or 3 are not your strong suit or not what you naturally like to do, and then you will feel a big struggle over there because you have to break yourself out of that zone. Of course, in DID and also in real life practice, over time you know how to form teams around you to kind of build this, to buffer for this strengths and weaknesses that different ones will have. But as a fundamental to even understand how to buffer that way, you have to try to be all of these for some time, and some of you may hate it. You might hate like having to talk in front of people. That's why if you look at all the design students in DID, they all can talk. Like, just put a camera to them, and this is completely unrehearsed anyway today, right? They will say something and it will not be frivolous, right? So because everyone is stretched to communicate, and even if they don't like to, people who are dreamers are stretched to kind of bring their things to real impact. People who are focused on things that really, really work are stretched to dream a bit more, so that they don't just solve obvious problems, but they create new possibilities. So, I think the worst part of ID is that you will be stretched in ways that you may not like. Right? That's outside of your shape. Yeah, but it's part of being a designer.
Thanks, Donn. Okay, Mariel or Claire? What's the best and worst things about ID from your experience? Mariel?
Actually, when you say the worst thing, the first thought that came to mind is like we all don't know when to stop. Because like technically, we can never design finish. And so like I don't really know how to stop yet still, but I think that's the worst part. Which is good, which is actually a good thing cause like you always want to keep improving. And like, for example, actually one of the initially I always thought once a project ends in platforms like that's it. But actually like another prof, Christoph, actually said that you can always like improve your stuff. So I thought like okay, I'm done, so I just throw it into my portfolio. But actually like you can take ownership and just keep improving it. So like you can never end. And then I think the best part about ID is that you grow to be more sensitive to your environment. Like I think I don't really know sure how to say, but I guess like an analogy would be like now whenever I go like shopping or whatever, then I'm like, ooh, look at this curve, it's so smooth. And like this welding. But like, or like if I see a cut that's damn ugly, then I'm like, it's damn ugly. which previously I probably like, I can just like use it and put in my mouth. But then I realized like how a cut makes you feel and how you hold it really matters a lot. Which I didn't have that capability of like being sensitive to all these before ID. But I think that's the best part of like just walking out and you go home and you just observe things and you realize, ooh, and you start to like be critical about things.
I'm more critical and appreciative about different things.
Appreciative.
I jump in on that a bit. I think Mariel hit the spot there, because I think the moment that you're trained like that, it opens you up to the world of beauty that you haven't seen, right? And then not just in beauty as like aesthetics or like the curves that Mariel is talking about, right? But beauty in moments, right? Like when is a good moment? When someone steps through the door, how he interacts with another person, you start to become sensitive to all these things and why they are beautiful, right? Things that like this you don't catch before you are sensitized, right? You may feel it and you may kind of like experience it and may benefit from it, but you may not know what's going on. But being trained here, you will catch and you will know, and then you can also then effect this kind of change, right?
Actually, I think a good book to read for first time designers is the Donn one. The one it's very easy to read and okay.
Design for everyday things.
Right? The one the teapot one.
Yep. Thanks, Mariel. Claire? What's the best and worst things about ID?
I feel like the best thing as an education system for me being here is like I have been given the opportunity to learn to like listen to my own voice. Because I remember when I came in and like the professor said, okay, make this accessory, and I'll just be like, wait, so who is it for and what do you want me to do? Like I would naturally call for a rubric that he wants me to fulfill, but I won't be like, what do I like, what do I want to wear, what do I think is beautiful. Like, I never have that capacity to believe in like my own judgment. So I think the best part is like over the years, I like the professors and the people give you the space to like question and to think and figure out your own voice, which I think is like a very precious thing in education. Yeah. Then the worst thing, I think the worst thing can also be the best thing lah. So I think for me it's like the uncertainty part where like, cause I feel like for me, I was always known to be like very analytical, and then in my family, my sister is known to be very creative. So for me, uncertainty at first is like very scary. Like, oh, I don't think I'm creative. I cannot operate in that realm where I don't know how things are gonna work. Like, you must give me a framework to follow first. But I think being here is like, it exposes you to uncertainty, and it's very scary. But then like throughout the projects and the profs guidance, you can see how like when you are inside uncertainty, you can get over that uncertainty. So it becomes less scary too. Like the next time you see like, oh my god, something is uncertain, it's not that scary anymore. So it becomes like the confidence in the face of uncertainty, I think is like the nice part. But I mean, it will always come back, so it's also the worst part. Yeah.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a bit to what Claire has mentioned about the listen to your own voice. And Claire has mentioned some things about saying, like, say, being tasked to design and accessories would be like a jewelry sort of things, right? And then how would she like it? Well, the extent to which you are asked to listen to your own voice over here stretches to the possibility even to say that, like, I would just never do accessories. You know, for someone who says that, hey, accessories are frivolous, why are we doing accessories? I think that's a plausible response to a project, right? And we do have different personality types, worldview types, you know, of students, team members here, who would just say, I will never do a decorative thing, right? And sometimes they find themselves either pivoting their project entirely differently, or they find a way to harmonize between what their beliefs are and how that should be expressed in an accessory. For example, some might go down the route and say accessories are pointless, decorating your body is pointless, and they want to do the accessory as a tool, right? That could take the form of, like, simplistically, it could be things that you wear that you could use to do other stuff, right? Or less simplistically, the accessories becoming security devices for children, for parents who have dementia and who are wandering around, and somehow with an accessory they are able to be tracked, right? So that kind of listening to your voice also comes along with the kind of inclinations and the way you see the world, right? So we always invite students to question that and stretch that, right? Yeah.
Hey, thanks guys. Okay, there are more questions. Okay, we have to end in 12 minutes because Instagram will close it automatically.
Oh.
So, okay, let me see. Hey, thanks so much, Mel, for the really good question. This is the next one from Jessica. While other universities from the States, or NTU and NTU ADM, require portfolio, why does NUSDID not require the portfolio? And she said, does that mean ... But yes.
Okay, so that's a question for me, right? It seems a bit strange, but it's actually very simple, to be honest. Let me explain first the role of a portfolio, right? The role of a portfolio allows us to see whether you have existing some level of ability to work really hard, right? Because you can't do a good portfolio unless you are really rigorous, right? So it allows us to assess that. It also allows us to assess whether you are, maybe by the evidence of your work in their portfolio, a person who questions things a lot and asks interesting possibilities of things that you see, right? I think a portfolio allows us to see that. And of course, on some level, with portfolios that are more art related, it gives us a hint at your aesthetic judgment, right? But that said, right, many of these elements are what we somewhat expect to train here. That's one. And the other factor that is happening is many of these elements exist also in people who don't have a portfolio, right? And what we are trying to find through our interview process is to dig out who can be the best designers, who can thrive here, right? Whether or not they have a portfolio. Sometimes, to be very honest, the portfolio, one who has a portfolio, even though it usually helps in the interview, but it might be a hindrance also, because there's a certain set way to do things. Right? You are basically, because of a certain past training, you are locked in a certain way. We've seen that happen before, right? And the ones with the best portfolios may not actually do the best over in ID over here. Actually, that has been proven time and time again. Right? I would say those who have a good portfolio at the start may be quite. They usually do rather well in the school, right? But can I be candid here?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that I don't think our best performers every year, right, are often the ones who had the art portfolio at the start. Right? So there is some real evidence over the last 10, 20 years in this course that we should not just only look at the portfolio. Right? We are looking for people. We're looking for people who are mature, open, honest, right? Who can debate and grapple with the complexity of human beings. Right? We're not looking for an artist. Right? Even though art as a skill set, or even if you are coming from a poly background, you are able to do a 3D CAD really well, do some kind of like product design in the first place really well. Your sketch is great. Yes, these are elements that contribute to being effective practitioner. But fundamentally, we are looking for the human advocate, right? One who can imagine and one who can implement, right, for the human being. So that is not captured often in portfolios. So, well, your question seems to allude a little bit to the fact that why we don't need a portfolio means that we might be a substandard course, right? I think we don't really bother. On our side, we know that might create a kind of impression, but we don't really worry too much about it because we know what we are after. We are looking for the people who make change, right, at the end. So that's why our entry requirements are done that way. Yeah. And if we can't help to curb that impression that we may be the so-called like a substandard entry requirements thing, then so be it. But anyway, I don't think that's the case, right? I think the idea is known as a course that's not really easy to get into.
Thanks, Donn. Yeah, I hope that addresses your concern, Jessica.
What's the question though?
Yes, it was. Okay, we have about like 5 minutes left. Let me see if there are quite good questions. Okay, I have one like more administrative question. May I know how many students come in through discretionary admissions for every batch? Can you answer this?
No, I don't know.
Okay, for such specific administrative questions, I'll type in an email address, Data Douglas. I'll send it to you. It'll be more effective to us administrative people who knows this.
The number varies every year also.
Yeah, no problem, Jessica. She says thank you for the question. Okay, maybe before we end, and I don't think there are other questions, maybe I'll just wrap up with our last question. Maybe for three of you, how has your perspective of design changed over the past 4 years? Based on from year 1 to year 4, or maybe for you.
For them,
Okay, maybe starting with students, or you need time to think about it while Donn answers. Or Mariel?
What's the question?
How has your perspective on design changed over the past 4 years of being here? What was it in the beginning, and how has it changed?
Right off my head, initially I thought design was just product. Initially I thought design was just about product, either product or 2D graphics. But there's a lot more. It's a multidisciplinary course at DID. So I learned that what Donn said, it's also about moments. It's about moments. how say in service, how if a person approaches an ATM, the first thing that beats them should be something that's very easy to use. and and like all the little things, like it's not like it's not just getting from the MRT to the bus stop, but it's about getting from the MRT, then you see the signage, and the signage tells you to go this way, then you get to the bus stop, that kind of thing. And all these are designed. Yeah. So actually everything is, I realize that design is a lot lah. It's an umbrella. Yeah.
There's always part of a bigger system and a whole journey.
Yeah.
Thanks, Meryl. Claire?
I don't really remember what I thought of design like 4 years ago. But
It's okay.
I suppose it's more like visible things like colours, curves, like tangible, visible things. But now I think design is like the considerations about like the human beings who might use it, and then the consideration of the designer in making certain decisions in the design because of the people using it. Yeah, like the hidden, invisible things that sometimes we don't see it or notice it. Yeah, what affects the way that we interact with things.
Yeah. Because like last time I also used to think that design was like those fashion shows that the clothes cannot even wear outside kind, or like the chair cannot even see it. But actually, there's another end of the spectrum that Donn likes to use. It's like there's an honest design. Yeah, and then there's on the other end of the spectrum is the cannot use one, but looks pretty. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, which ends of the spectrum do you usually lean towards to? Or are they opposites?
I'm not sure.
Now, what kind of design work would you be more passionate in doing?
Something that's really for the people. Yeah.
Same. Okay, thanks guys. Maybe Donn?
I just add on to this now. First is obviously they're going on a tangent that talks about knowing initially that design is a bit like aesthetics, shape, color, form, right, and objects, right, products, to now then moments, right, and Mario has talked a bit about how you experience an ATM, for example. Does it give you this feeling that it's easy to use, right? Now, let's stretch a bit beyond that, right? Because on one hand, we try to see design as firstly a decorator, shape giver, color choice situation, to a problem-solving practical function, right? Which is hey, is it easy to use? Is this quick to use, right? And then we can move even further into possibilities. When we really start to talk about moments, we talk about how when you approach an ATM, does it make you feel like your transaction is safe? Does it make you feel that people are looking at you when you are using it, right? Does it make you feel that when you press the button, the feeling of that click over there or the touch screen, does it give you this sense that your money is in good hands with the bank, right? I think there's so much to influence in terms of the possibilities of design, and so much places to touch, right? That oftentimes what happens here at DID is throughout the 4 years, students start to open up their vision of, I can influence so much and at so many levels. At the start they thought that it's color, it's shape, it's curves, right? But later on it's really so much about the nuances of things, how even the three of us are sitting like that side by side, changes the dynamic of this conversation that we're having with you, right? There's so much to talk about.
Let us meet again. Oh, thanks, Donn. Thanks, guys, for sharing. Okay, I have 1 minute left before we end. Maybe super quick fire round. What's one advice that you would give a prospective student now who's still considering choosing between courses? Any life advice for them?
Generally, I would say don't see your admission as kind of this is it or I die, right? Type of choice. Don't see it also as end road, because actually real life is not like that. If you make a wrong choice to a course, you can shift, right? As Claire has shown, and sometimes it's worth it to shift. I think in that light, it's maybe better to try something that you is more risky, first that you think you may really like, and then just jump out of it if you don't think it's going to work, right? It's better than staying in the safe zone and not knowing if you miss something.
Okay, hey, thanks, Donn. Okay, that's all the time that we have today. Thanks, guys.